Hello and welcome to Mystical Musings with me, your host, Tracey-Anne. Today we're going to be talking about the second root chakra, which is known as the Sacral Chakra. And this is sometimes referred to as Swavistana. Easy for you to say. This is the second energy center in the body. And what I'm going to talk to you about is how to recognize when this chakra is underactive for you, overactive, or if it's imbalanced, and then things that you can do to help keep it balanced. If you've listened to the root chakra podcast before this one, you'll know that we're just talking about each energy center known as the chakras, and we're just going to do the 7. So this is just a short series of 7 recordings. Now, the sacral chakra is the second energy center. I think I might have said that already. And it's located in the lower abdomen. This is just below your navel. And this governs your emotions, your creativity, and your sensuality. Okay? So how do we know if this chakra is underactive? Well, you might find that you feel a bit lackluster. You may find that you have a bit of a lack of creativity, lack of new ideas coming through. You also may find that you don't really have any emotional attachment to things. So you may feel this kind of numbness or detachment. And as we talk about the energy centers, I think it's worth noting that you'll hear a lot of similar emotions come up or symptoms come up in different chakras. So you can feel depressed, for example, and your root chakra might be perfectly balanced, but you might have a really imbalanced sacral chakra and have the symptoms of depression. So it's not a one-size-fits-all because everybody's chakras are individual. These are just general ideas. Another sign that this chakra can be underactive, so it's lacking in energy, it's lacking in your attention, is the fear of change or the inability to let go or go with the flow. So another way that that can express itself is for you being what's known as the proverbial control freak. I don't like that word of like control freak because the word freak just has negative connotations. But what I want you to think about is if you do feel like somebody that's as a generalized control freak, have a think about how you describe yourself, how you perhaps could change some of those things. Where can you go with the flow and let other people maybe take the reins, and pick stuff that feels maybe slightly uncomfortable so that you're pushing yourself, but equally not so much that you are, going into panic, because we don't want to move you too quickly through healing an emotion. It is a journey. It's really important that we recognize that as we heal an underactive energy center, it may take some time. When I work with my clients doing the energy healing with sound and Reiki, we are looking at where you are just in this moment and looking for just the next bit. So it's kind of like you're in a forest, you've met this area, it's overgrown, you don't know which way to turn, and then you come to me, and what I facilitate is kind of the saccateurs, if you like, to begin cutting that back. You're probably not going to do it all in one session, but you get a big chunk of it done. And each session, you build on that energy to help you to move through these difficult sort of underactive energy centers. So with an underactive sacral chakra, which is a lovely color of orange, you might have difficulty expressing your emotions or communicating to people how you feel about them. So you might feel that it's almost a bit difficult to love. This is an area that sometimes, as women certainly go through the change or the menopause or perimenopause, or they're having hormonal changes throughout the month, you may find that there are times through the month where you think there is no way that I love this person that I'm in a relationship with. And it can really give you the ick. Sometimes that will pass as your hormones change, but sometimes it can be so profound that you almost just go off them, a little bit like you would go off a food or something. And so we have difficulty kind of expressing that feeling of love. Also, repressed sexuality. Well, what does that mean? It might mean that you just have a low libido. And, you know, people get a bit icky when you're talking about energy healing, and they don't want to talk about the power of sexual energy. If there's any chakra, for women particularly, for men it's more the root, but for women it's the sacral chakra. This sexual energy comes from there. That's where the kundalini energy comes from, and it's where that sense of vitality and expression comes from. So it's about being creative. To have an overactive sacral chakra, that's very difficult to say. You might have sort of over emotional reaction. So somebody might do something, you might get very easily offended. That's when we see this energy as kind of overactive. Your moods might be quite unstable, very up, very down. So mood swings can be a really big thing. And you know what? That can be really, really scary when you are really trying to just show up in the world and be creative and do your job well, and you have these kind of up, down, you know, mood swings where sometimes you almost feel like you could just quit your job and run away. But then you'll have other days where you're just like on fire, you're just smashing it, you know, and everything's great. You also, with this chakra being overactive, you might have an excessive sensuality or obsession with pleasure. So sex addicts having, the one that comes to mind is, and I know that he talks freely about this, is Russell Brand being a sex addict. I would guess that his sacral chakra is probably very, very open. Poor emotional boundaries is another one. So this, you know, saying yes when you really want to say no, or being in a position where sometimes we do have to say yes when we want to say no, because it just has to be done. Things with kids, for example, or family members, it might be not even in a toxic way, but you don't want to do something, but sometimes you have to. So the poor emotional boundaries comes in when you don't then spend your time recuperating or recharging that energy that you've lost, if it feels like it's cost you something. And the overactiveness of a sacral chakra can really kind of blur your creativity. So you'd sort of think, oh, wow, if it's overactive, this person would be so creative, and it would just be like they're churning out lots of really great work, but not necessarily. Sometimes it's a bit of a chaotic energy there. So getting that sacral chakra balanced is super important so that you can kind of let your creativity flow, whatever that is for you, without it being absolute chaos. And I think we've all probably experienced some creative, chaotic energy that has maybe held us back. And, you know, it's not the end of the world when that happens. You'll hear me talk about, through these chakra podcasts, that we're not trying to be perfect here. We're simply looking and noticing at how we keep ourselves in balance. That's literally all we're doing. So it's noticing when you're off balance, when you're overactive or underactive, and then bringing yourself back and going, right, how do I balance this energy? To be honest, the easiest way to do this is to do it with somebody who is trained in energy healing, someone like myself. You can work with me distance, so that's absolutely fine, like over a Zoom call. And so you can get energy healing in a distance way. If you don't understand that, that's totally fine. It's a concept to get your head around, but actually is very, very powerful. But also you can go to somebody and you can, you know, have a journey with a practitioner who will help you through not step by step, but just hold your hand a little bit on your journey while you make the decisions that need to be made. And that can be the easiest way to balance some of these energy centers without having to work too hard. So it's kind of like someone else is coming in and cleaning the house for you and getting it ready, and then you can cook dinner and, you know, make it a mess again if you need to. What are we looking for if this one is balanced? Well, you'd be very healthy at expressing your emotions. You'd be able to sort of say to people, no, I'm feeling quite angry about that, or, it's not explosive, but it's not the absence of anger. It's not the absence of negative feelings. It's just when that chakra is in balance, you're not hurting yourself or other people when you express those emotions. And that is something that I've certainly had to learn to do, because rage and anger are really quickly accessible for me. This is the work I've been doing on my own journey of Reiki and energy healing, and it's been a really tough journey. I'll have times where it's been like amazing, I'm really balanced, and then sometimes I just go completely off balance and I have to put myself on the timeout step because I can't. I find my kids, who at the time of recording this are only 4 and 8, I have to kind of take myself away from them because I don't want to be that rageful mother who shouts all of the time, and I've had a few times like that with them, and I do regret it. Yeah, I do, actually. So I'm glad that I'm able to do this work because it's given me kind of a handrail to just get me through these difficult times. If this chakra is in balance, as in it is balanced, not underactive, you will be able to be creative and have flow. It'll kind of just be really easy, a bit of a breeze. This podcast for me actually feels in flow. It's not chaotic. It's not all over the place. I just feel very creative with it, and that's quite nice to do. But whatever your version of being creative and in flow is, so, look for that. If you feel like you're out of balance, you can look for that. Balanced sensuality and sexuality. So this is a lot to do with, healing past trauma. If you have any around this topic, but also just being able to have that sensuality and sexuality with yourself, but also maybe with a partner who you trust. And around that, you would know the boundaries of someone who is safe and unsafe. This one, I think probably the population is getting a lot better at, but I think we could still do more, is emotional intelligence and empathy. If you have not been through something, I think sometimes it's very difficult to have an empathy for somebody else when you've not been through something. And so the art, the creativity within this statement is actually, how can you step into somebody else's shoes and have true empathy? So, it's really easy sometimes to look at someone who perhaps is not getting something. Perhaps you're somebody who goes to the gym every day, right? And then you look at someone else who's not going to the gym every day and they're feeling sluggish, but they really want to go to the gym because they know it's good for them, but they're really struggling. For you, it's really easy because you just go, well, you just get up at 7 a.m. and you just go, and you haven't actually looked into their situation. You haven't gone, oh, okay, I wonder what's stopping, because I find it really easy. So what do I need to know? And the best thing to do if you're around somebody who's struggling with this, and also if it's yourself, you go, okay, well, what is it that's stopping me? And it's about asking yourself really deep questions that you can uncover stuff. I'll probably cover this in another podcast, because that questioning yourself so that you can really get on the momentum train is a whole different art form. But for now, just asking yourself really good questions about why you're maybe not doing something, how you could do something if you were going to, and then moving forward with that. This chakra also, if it's balanced, you're going to have a lot of flexibility and adaptability. So what this means is that you can kind of find the flow of what you need. You're going to be flexible, but it's not to the point where someone goes, oh, I really want to do that, but actually you want to do the other thing, and then you go, oh, okay, well, just do your thing. That's not really the same thing. Actually, it's about finding compromise. It might be that sometimes you go, yeah, okay, you know what? Yeah, we'll do that, because I could do the thing that I want to do another day anyway, so it's not a problem. I mean, these are really simple explanations. But again, like I say in every single podcast, how can you apply what I'm saying to yourself, if it does apply at all? So how do we keep the chakra balanced? Well, we can do meditation, visualization. I know this is tricky for some people, but just simply sitting for 5 or 10 minutes, maybe even 2 minutes if you're just starting, and just focus on the color orange. Some of you might need to actually look at the color orange, so that's fine. And imagine that it's sitting just below your belly button, so the navel area, sort of just around that bit. And then you can also visualize a flowing river, and that just symbolizes movement of your emotions, that ease and that flow. You can repeat affirmations. So I embrace my emotions. I express myself freely. I am creative. I am strong. There's lots of others, but you can look at affirmations for that energy center. The crystals that you can use, there are loads, but for now I'm just going to touch on a few. You can use carnelian, which that enhances your creativity and passion. Orange calcite, which balances your emotions and enhances your creativity. Can never be a bad thing. And then moonstone, that promotes emotional healing and balance. So depending on where you are, different crystals will you'll need different crystals for different things. Foods like oranges, mangoes, peaches, because they're orange. Nut seeds like almonds, walnuts, and sesame seeds. If you're allergic, obviously don't eat them, for goodness sake. Spices, cinnamon, vanilla, caraway. Those kind of spices are going to help if you can eat them. And then looking at aromatherapy, obviously the top one is orange. And then you've got ylang ylang, which is brilliant for low mood and things like that, and sandalwood, which helps that balanced feeling, because sandalwoods are also quite grounding, so it is good for the root chakra, but also the sacral, because it can just help balance come into play. Now, the trick really here is remembering to keep the sacral chakra balanced, and it won't always be balanced. It's a journey, and you might get to a point where you never have to think about the sacral chakra again. But I would always be on guard to just accepting that some of your chakras are going to go out of alignment, and then it may need to be brought back on. So things that you can do to keep them balanced is embrace your sensuality, allow yourself to enjoy pleasurable experiences without the guilt. So, part of healing can be joyful. You don't always have to go to your shadow work. And by all means, we have to face the hard stuff, but you can heal in joy. You can heal with doing things that are just easy and have flow, That's okay to do that. The next one is journaling. That will help you to track and understand your emotions. This is a really interesting one. Set creative goals. This one for me is, look, goals are very malleable. Sometimes we set goals in a real sort of solid, unmovable format. And actually, I think that it's probably not the best thing. We want to be flexible with our goals. So, for example, today, I've woken up and I need to have a shower, but my husband was in the shower when I wanted to go in the shower, and it's raining, and I wanted to record this podcast. So I'm sat here in my Udi. I don't have a bra on. And so I can do the shower later. I can be flexible so long as I'm getting my podcast recorded. Like, this is what I needed to do today. So that's cool. It's fine. A really nice one, if you can, this can be difficult for some people, but create a sacred space. Now, this could be just a tiny space on your bedside table. If you're fortunate and privileged, then maybe you have a space outside of your home or a room, whatever. Just have a space where you can relax and, maybe connect with your crystals, connect with your essential oils, sit and do some journaling, prayer, whatever it is that you feel most cool to do. And then finally, learn to establish and maintain healthy boundaries. I always recommend the book Setting Boundaries Will Set You Free by Nancy Levin. It's really, really important. I think everyone, even if you have good boundaries, you need to learn about setting healthy boundaries, because boundaries are the thing that help you to know where you are, what you're doing, and also to just kind of keep things on track. Setting boundaries can be really difficult, especially if you're around people that are narcissistic. And also, if you've never been shown how to set boundaries, then it would be understandable that you perhaps would find that quite difficult, you know? So be gentle with yourself. Like, start with just the learning of it. It's not about going out and doing it, because the first time you do it, it's going to be difficult. But it is just about beginning that path of setting those boundaries so that you can move forward. And obviously the biggest thing is remembering to do all of these things, making sure that you use these techniques so that you are able to keep each energy center as balanced as possible. Now, I've given you the top few, but there are loads of other ways that you can help balance all of your chakras, but the sacral chakra in particular. And so, you know, go do your own looking up on the old Google and have a look and see what else there is that, you know, might resonate with you. I think we have to promote our own learning as much as possible along the way. And it can be fun. Remember, bring the joy into it. Bring the things that find you joy, because actually, sometimes we think just laying in front of the TV doing nothing brings us joy, but often there's a lot of guilt around that. So, you know, just make sure that we are really doing what brings us joy, even if we think it won't. Simple stuff like tidying up the house. Like, no one finds that joyful, but when it's done, gosh, that's a dopamine hit that I'm here for, you know? So there we are, guys. That is your sacral chakra. If you have any questions, obviously let me know. But make sure you do follow, subscribe to the channel, so that you don't miss my next podcast, which will be about the solar plexus. Looking forward to seeing you then.